grab a drink because we're gonna have a yap sesh together. We're gonna do the mid-year check-in tag, but we're also gonna do a little goal update. We're also gonna talk about like some of my content plans for the rest of the year, just kind of like chat and look back on the year and look ahead for the rest of the year together. I made a salted chocolate chip iced latte today and it's delicious, but it is really melting. It's hot out today. 2026 has been kind of a weird year for me. I feel like I'm in a really weird spot, headspace, life space as I moved out, and I'm trying to just like get used to all the new routines. But I will say this channel is so helpful for all of that. I've really escaped often into my videos and stuff, even when I'm not in the best headspace with reading. The idea of making content has always brought me life. The idea of reaching new people and talking to everybody and shared experiences through books, through games, through everything is something I look forward to all the time. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for commenting, whatever it is. But let's get into the mid-year freakout tag so that I don't get sappy. Question number 1 is the best book I've read this year. This is such an easy question this year. Last year I remember being torn between a couple. Beneath takes the cake with this one. This story made me feel so emotional. It got me through a reading slump. I read it in literally like one sitting. I had so much fun with this story and felt just like so emotionally attached to everything. I can't wait for the sequel. I feel like this felt unique to me in a world of non-unique books. I guess the thing is the characters feel unique. I don't care if a plot is redone. I don't really care if we're using the same tropes. That's not something that bothers me. I actually like what I like, so I tend to gravitate towards the same tropes, the same settings, things like that. But the way an author writes can feel unique, and I want your characters to feel unique. I want them to feel individual, like different people that I would experience in my real life is what bleeds uniqueness into my stories for me, is feeling like things could exist, I guess. And I felt like this entire story really could exist, and I just loved the characters. Like truly, this was such a character experience for me. I thought the plot was really good too. I liked the pacing and everything, but the characters, the yearning, the green flag MC, which is so, I feel like, not done often. We normally have red flag men, and I love my red flag men, like the toxic men that I wouldn't date in real life but love as a book boyfriend. Sign me up. But the main love interest in this is literally a green flag. Like you should be dating this guy in real life. And I loved that. I loved this book. It was incredible. I've been thinking about it so much. I'm like, should I reread it already? Question number 2 is the best sequel I've read this year. Not gonna lie, I've actually really struggled with sequels this year. So many of them have let me down. I feel like they haven't been what I wanted to experience in the story or in the world, and I haven't enjoyed them nearly as much as I normally do, which is sad. But I do think 2 that stick out for me are actually in the same series. City of Glass and City of Heavenly Fire are some of my favorite reads this year. I really enjoyed both of these. They are a sequel. This is book 3 and this is book 6, the final book in the series. And I feel like they both stood out to me as stories that increased every single time. Like every book in this series felt better than the last. And Cassandra Clare knows how to wrap up her books really, really well. These ones really stuck out to me as my favorite books in a series. And I think that's a lot of fun. I don't often love the last book of a series too. Like I'm always sad that it's over, so I end up rating it less than other ones, but this was so good. It was so well done. So many emotions went through this story. And then I just thought this one also felt like a really good climax. It's almost kind of like its own ending because books 1 to 3 kind of read like an arc, and then 4 to 6 read like an arc. And I really enjoyed both of these, and they were big surprises for me. A new release you haven't read yet but want to. Let me look. I don't really know. Honestly, I think off the top of my head, I don't have an answer to this one. I've actually been really good at keeping up with the new releases that I'm interested in. So I'm not sure that I have one that like I'm itching to get to that's already out. Oh, actually I do have one. Hollow Huntress by Catherine Bro. It came out May 14th and I forgot about this one, and I actually just remembered it as I looked at like my new release board on Notion. This is a dark urban romantasy duology. It's the start of it. We follow a main character who ends up making a deal to get out of prison, which is not my favorite trope but can work for me. And she has to get close to another like assassin and essentially take him out. And I'm excited for that forced proximity and what that means. And I feel like obviously they're gonna fall in love and they're not gonna actually take each other out, and so much of that. But the synopsis of this sounds really good. I'm really interested in it. I completely forgot about it, I'm not gonna lie. So I should probably add that to my next TBR. Hopefully I get to that sooner rather than later. This is why I like doing tags like this. It reminds me of things sometimes. We have the most anticipated release release for the second half of the year. I do think there's a couple of these. I think my go-to for the last couple years has always been the next Carissa Broadbent book because I'm always just so excited to get to whatever she publishes. So in August, The Lion and the Deathless Dark comes out, and I am very, very excited for this one. Carissa is one of my favorite authors, even though the funny thing is I haven't loved that much from her that I've read, and I've read everything, but the way that Serpent and the Wings of Night convinced me to love Romantasy, the way that those two characters stick with me so much, and the way that I do really just enjoy Carissa's writing has her being an auto-buy author for me every single time. And then a second one would be Vine of Hearts, which is the second book in the Rose and Chains series by Julie Soto. I loved Rose and Chains earlier this year. It's dark. I felt like the yearning was so good in that, and Julie Soto is an auto-buy author for me. I've given literally everything I've read from her 5 stars, so I literally love her, and I cannot wait for the sequel to this. It'll be my first like main sequel from her, which I think is really exciting. Those are 2 really big ones from authors that I literally love. Biggest disappointment. Oh, I think there's a lot of these, but I think the one that hit me the hardest this year was the Infernal Devices trilogy by Cassandra Clare. After I loved Mortal Instruments and everyone was saying this is the best series by her, I thought I was gonna love this. I thought I was gonna give it 5 stars, and I didn't like this that much. I feel like the setting was never for me. I didn't love the like, it's a man's world, but then like it wasn't a big conversation about taking that down or like flipping that on its axis. Our main characters kind of like went with it, and that wasn't something I personally enjoyed. I feel like she had no agency to her. She was never doing anything. The plot was just happening around her, and I really just was not invested into the love triangle in any way. I didn't care about these characters, but this one was such a disappointment because everyone said this was going to be my favorite series, and so the fact that I didn't even really enjoy it, that hurt. That really hurt. My favorite new author, honestly, Julie Soto. I read The Thrashers last year, but this year I read Rose and Chains, Forget Me Not, and Not Another Love Song, and give them all 5 stars. So this is 4 books by one author that I've given 5 stars, which is honestly completely unheard of for me. I'm typically someone who loves a series and then dislikes another thing from the same author. So this was so shocking that the way she writes just like really speaks to me. And I will literally sell my soul for whatever she writes next, no matter what it is, whatever genre, I will be reading it. So this was a big surprise for me because I've never had an author that I've just loved everything from. So every time I picked up a book, I was like, this will be the one that I don't like as much. And then it shocked me how much I loved it. Biggest surprise. Honestly, I haven't read that many books, so I feel like I'm saying the exact same books over and over again. One, I could put Cassandra Clare. I have written off Cassandra Clare my entire life. I don't know what it was, but I just thought these weren't for me. They were going to read too young. I wasn't going to enjoy them. And now I'm literally marathoning all of her work and want to continue, and I'm so excited to get to the next one. But also, my favorite book of the year, Beneath, was honestly one of my biggest surprises because I read Conform. I liked Conform. It was like a low 4 stars, so I wasn't expecting to feel so emotionally attached and in love with Beneath when I read it, because I think I was just expecting very similar to Conform, especially because these 2 series do exist in the same world. They're just a long time apart. I was very shocked by my love of this book. My newest fictional crush, it's probably wrong to answer Beneath again, right? But honestly, if I'm being honest, although I love Tristan and he is like your green flag MC in this, my fictional crush in this is actually Levi. I love Levi so much. So Levi. And I would love this to either become a poly romance or for Levi to have his own story and own romance at some point. But I literally love Levi with all of my heart. Our next question is newest favorite character. And this one is a little bit hard because this is when I come to realize that I've read so many good stories this year. But I also don't have any that like the main character really stuck out to me. Last year I answered the Bone season because Paige just like really grew on me and I felt so attached to her and I related to her so much. This year I have so many that I like, but none that I just like really feel like I connected to on that level. I think the main characters from Half City, Because I Killed Him, and We Who Will Die all stuck with me quite a bit. But like I literally don't know if I have just like an all-time favorite character that I read this year. Like nothing is really just like really popping out to my head the way that last year's did. Like I don't even remember the names of the main characters in those ones versus like Paige is like ingrained into my head. And probably because I read 5 books in that series. But I don't know if I have an answer to this. Actually, you know who it could be? I think it could be Simon, which is so funny to say because when I started my journey in the Mortal Instruments. I had seen the show and the movie before and I literally hated Simon. So I was reading it and I was like, ugh, Simon. And then the series went on and on and on. And by the end of this series, I was attached to Simon and I love Simon. And I felt like he was such a relatable character with all of his emotions and the things he went through. And he had so much like perspective in him and compassion, but also like bravery and things like that. I actually think it's Simon. I was not really thinking about males at all. I was only thinking about females when I put this like question in my brain. But like opening it all up to just like a character I loved, a character I felt deeply like relatable in some ways, or like liked reading about and enjoyed. Simon. A book that made you cry. I mean, there were literally just clips of me sobbing reading Beneath. And then when I cried over my chicken nuggets and cleaning the toilet, that happened in City of Heavenly Fire. So both of these, I guess, made me cry. I cry a lot. I'm a crier in books though, so not surprised. I could probably name more. A book that made you happy. I read for emotional devastation. That is something I want. That is why I cry often in my books. So this is not something that is very easy for me to say, because like even in my favorite books, I'm looking for turmoil in some ways. I'm looking for a lot of issues. I don't just read like cozy, happy books, but I also do, while I read books, want to be giggling and stuff like that. But I think probably the easiest way to go with this is probably a romance instead of like one of the fantasy romances. Probably Forget Me Not. I feel like None Other Love Song still had like a lot of turmoil, but I do think Forget Me Not just made me giggle and laugh so much and like had a very happy vibe even with the conflict and stuff within it. So probably this one. Most beautiful book you've bought so far this year? I think that goes to Verity Guild. This book is stunning. Like this cover, gorgeous. This edge, gorgeous. This end paper, stunning. The hardcover, naked, beautiful. Even the reverse dust jacket, which is just a different colorway of the original, stunning. I would say this book. And what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Everything. This feels like such a loaded question, and I'm sure everyone agrees with me, because like what book do I not want to read by the end of the year? I have 3 in front of me that I think are pretty obvious answers. Well, maybe not obvious, but like answers that like off the top of my head, if I don't read these by the end of the year, I'm gonna be like sad about. The Dark Lord's Guide to Dating and Other War Crimes. This has been on literally every TBR. I think this year I keep saying I want to read it and I still haven't. So like I need to read this. I want to read it. I'm excited to read it. The second book in the series I believe comes out later this year. The Dark Artifices trilogy as a whole. I just want to continue my Cassandra Clare binge. I definitely slowed down after the Infernal Devices. I haven't really picked anything up, but I think I could love this one. So I would love to continue and get back into the vibes because I love to marathon series, and I was doing a really good job with this series, or this universe, I guess. And a little bit more of a wild card is Dissection of a Murder. This one came up in my speed dating my TBR video, and I loved the first 3 sentences. I actually love the first 6 sentences of this, and this went right up my TBR because of that. The writing style, everything. I have really just been reading romantasy this year with a little bit of romance. I don't actually know if I've read a single horror book. I have read one thriller. Actually, I've read a couple. I read Bloom this year. I forgot about Bloom. I loved Bloom. But anyways, I'd love to read more thrillers. I'd love to get back in the zone where I'm kind of like putting more of them into my reading. I'm just reading so little that the romantasy ends up taking priority because that's what I'm most excited about and most likely to give a 5-star. But I would really, really love to get to this. Future content plans. This has been an interesting year for me in content. I think I wanted to continue a lot of the series that I had been doing on my channel, like Reader DNF and TBR Swap, and then I wasn't in the mental space to do those. Like TBR Swap I love, but it also takes away a lot of the freedom from me, and I think because I'm reading so little, I really want that control, and it also requires more of a set timeline and stuff, which has been something that's not working for me. So I kind of pivoted a lot of my reading this year. I've experimented a lot more with like weekly concepts, things that like exist in a week or in a time frame. One of my favorite things I've done this year was my weekend readathon. That was a 24-hour readathon. I just had to read for 24 hours throughout the weekend. I'd love to do more of those. I have a really exciting video coming up where I'm going to be like rolling for my TBR, and I'm hoping I really enjoy that. I just finished a video that was me taking viewer suggestions and trying to remake reading a habit, and I definitely enjoyed that. I liked that that had like some community aspect to it because I took advice from my Instagram comments and things like that. So I think I need to continue doing things like that because those have worked the best for me. I've found that having like more of a time frame on my videos, but not a book amount has been something that's really helping for me. It took a little bit of a mind shift because I personally prefer when someone starts and finishes a book in the same vlog, because I am someone who like picks and chooses the vlogs I want to read. I subscribe to so many people. I don't necessarily watch like every single piece of content from someone, so I do typically enjoy more when a book is finished. Honestly, I don't even care about started, but finished in the vlog. But mentally that wasn't working for me, so I kind of have made like a little bit of a shift. But I also want to get back into doing some of the things I love, which is like random things, picking my TBR. Why I think rolling my TBR will be a lot of fun, because essentially we'll be rolling a die 3 times to pick like genre, how I picked the book, and like book traits and things like that. And then that gives me like a category like to mood read from, and that'll be exciting. Like essentially I could read a romantasy that's on my physical TBR that is a new to me author, and those will all be decided randomly by the rolls. But then I also still have the ability to pick the book, which is something I really enjoy. But also like one of my favorite things about my channel has always been random things, picking my TBRs. Like when I went fishing, that was a lot of fun. So I do want to do some of those. I don't really know. I'm in a weird headspace where like I'm trying to figure out what works for me, but also what I love. And so we're just trying a bunch of things. So I don't think I have any like set plans. I will continue doing like little shelf redemption episodes where like I'm just reading from my physical TBR, because that is a goal of mine. I truly don't know what to tell you about content plans, even though I wanted to do this because I just kind of wanted to talk, I guess, and yap about how I was feeling, a little like peek behind the curtain, I guess, because I love vlogging. It's my favorite thing to do. It's my favorite thing to watch. So if you have any advice, anything you'd like to see, let me know, because I love content creation. Is my first love. I will always be real here. I have enjoyed reading since I was young, but I love content creation, and I think that that is something that is kind of makes my channel somewhat different. Is if I couldn't read tomorrow, I would just switch my channel. Is like my main passion in this all is the creating of content. I love it. I love understanding algorithms. I love seeing what performs better. I love that. I watch a lot of videos on things like that. I love all of that. I love that. And not that I don't love reading, but if I didn't have this channel, I would not read to the extent that I read, for sure, because I read like 10 books a year before, and I got up to like 100 books a year. I love reading. I love it. And I found even more of a love for it through creating content, that I think now I would read more than 10 books a year even if I didn't have content. But the spark that like editing a video and then having it like do well, or like putting my passion into a video and seeing it do well, or like, and doing well doesn't mean the numbers have to be high. Having like people comment that they liked this and stuff like that, and like validation in a lot of ways. And I don't think I'm someone who like seeks validation for my own self-worth, but I do still seek validation on the internet, I guess. And I feel like people don't like to hear that like reading is the secondary hobby, but it is for me. I don't even know where I was going with this, but like, I don't know. I just wanted to say that like I love unique ideas. I love being creative. It's such a creative space for me. I need to be creative in my life. That is something I've always known. It's why I loved photography. It's literally so much of what I've loved. So I don't know. I don't know where I was going with this. Hopefully it makes sense when I edit it. But anything that you'd like to see, let me know, because I do love that. I love audience participation. I love when an audience member gives me a good video. There's one that I have in the back of my mind that someone recommended to me, like commented at some point. I'm gonna have to go find the comment one day, but where like I'm gonna do a spinner wheel with 10 books on it, and then every time I spin, I read the book I land on, and then I replace the book on the spinner wheel with the word stop, and so then I have to spin again, and I'm gonna read until the spinner wheel tells me to stop, so until I land on a stop space. And so the percentage of me stopping will go up every single time I read a book, and I think that will be a lot of fun. I just haven't had the like time to really bring that one to life, because I could read 10 books in that vlog, so I need like content planned and like the ability to read up for a big chunk of time. But I think that sounds so fun. So yeah, I don't really know my content plans. I just know that I have to like be creative. And I do think in a lot of ways I'm struggling with the weekly vlogs because of that. So maybe that's where I was going with that, and that's why I want to get back to like things picking my TBR and stuff. I don't know. Let's just move on to the chatty goal update, because I don't know where I'm going. Okay, we're gonna go through all my goals and decide whether I've liked them, like whether I'm doing them, whether they need to be changed or anything. Goal number 1 that I talked about was to make a community. That's what I wanted to continue to grow. I didn't really care about the subscriber number this year. I just wanted to continue having community be built. I will say the one place I feel like I've done this year is on Twitch. I feel like there are more people watching me on Twitch this year that are more consistent. I feel like I've had, you know what, it's not a lot, but I feel like I've had 3 3 people this year, maybe 4 people, who are consistently coming to my Twitch streams that I hadn't seen around before this year. And I love that. I love when someone starts to come to a Twitch stream. I love my Twitch streams. I love when people are yapping in there, and I think it's a lot of fun. I feel like it's such a good way to just like talk and like bond and stuff like that. And so I think that has been something that I've really enjoyed. I also feel like I've made a lot more friends this year, other booktubers that I've started to talk to a lot more. I have been like messaging them more and things like that, and that is really exciting. So I do think I've done this, but I do think I want to do it more too. My second goal was to have a shelf of trophies, to not just buy things for the sake of buying things. I was worried about this happening as I moved and had all this shelf space. I do think I've done this. I think I've bought more than I usually buy. However, things like Cassandra Clare, I bought as I read them so that I knew I wanted them. And so I think that was something that I made the change in, is trying to not just purchase an entire series that I haven't read. I bought like a book ahead every single time so that I knew I was still interested in reading them, and I think that that has been very helpful for me. So I do think I've done this and I want to continue doing this. My next goal was to marathon more series, and I don't really think I've done this. I've marathoned Cassandra Clare a little bit, but that's pretty much about it. But I also haven't read a lot of series in general, and looking at my TBR, like my physical book, there's not a lot of series that are like finished that I'm interested in right now. So I think that's part of the problem. I've been kind of keeping up with new releases a little bit more, so then I'm struggling to do the marathoning. It was easier when I just started reading again as an adult, and I was like catching up on all of these series that I hadn't read, like Mistborn and The Bone Season and things like that. But now that I'm a little bit more in the know and up to date, I am finding this a little bit harder, and it's something I would like to do a little bit more, but like I don't really know how to make this work because I also love keeping up with new releases at the same time. So this is like an unsure goal. I don't know what to do. Maybe I just need to like deep dive into like some series that I want to read and like find some of those. I know there are a couple, but like not a crazy amount. Read more fantasy was a goal. I don't think I've done this. Cassandra Clare is technically fantasy, but most of what I've read is romantasy still. So I don't think I've done this, but also I don't think I care about this goal. I just want to read what I want to read. This is something I think that has really hit me this year. I think because of how little I'm reading, I would love to read more just fantasy and not romantasy, but also I kind of think that a lot of romantasy now, like a lot of women written fantasy is just labeled as romantasy now, regardless of how much romance it is in. Like this is a YA romantasy for sure, but it's a fantasy because of when it came out. And so I think that the marketing word being so trendy means that like a lot of what I would have read that I considered fantasy is just being marketed as romantasy. So how do I count this stat, you know? Like it's such a weird stat. Like I think The Bone Season probably would have been labeled as a romantasy because there is a prominent romance in that whole series if it came out today, but it's also just a fantasy. It's just so hard because of marketing, I guess, and just like new terms. I wanted to read new releases. I put a goal of like 20% or more. I actually don't have a spreadsheet going, so I haven't been like tracking things this year. I need to like go back and make my spreadsheet. That's something that just like went out. Like I didn't even want to think about while I was like struggling and in a reading slump, and things have been busy. But I do think as things get better, I'm gonna miss not having that. So I want to go back and like look at my videos. It's very nice that I just have videos so I can see what I've read and remember what I read and just like put them all into a spreadsheet. But I don't know an actual percentage, but I have been reading new releases. It's probably what makes up the majority of my reading this year actually, so I think I have been doing this goal. Give out 400 stars. I can't tell you because I don't have a spreadsheet, so I have no idea how many stars I'm at. I don't think anywhere close to 400 because I'm reading so little. I think I should have put a percentage on this because it needed to be based on how much I was reading, and this was approximate to what I read last year, but I'm not anywhere close to what I read last year. I'm reading so slow this year. Prioritize reading challenges was another goal, and I didn't do this at all. I don't think I'm gonna do this. I love making TBRs for them, and I feel like such a fake because like I love making TBRs for them. I love it because I think it makes me find new books. It makes me deep dive into like what I actually want to read. I really suck about like thinking about it past the TBR, and I don't know how to fix that. And I don't know if I care to fix that, but like sometimes I'm like I feel like a fake because I'm just making these TBRs and I'm talking about them, and then everyone probably is like, oh, she doesn't even do anything with them. But like the fun part for me was making the TBR and like making the list and like searching for the books and seeing if I'm interested in books. Like I found so many new books that I had never even like heard about when I made some of these TBR, and I put them on my TBR, and like I could have been reading for prompts, but I just like haven't even like looked at them. Even my own reading challenge that I made, I don't know about reading challenges. I I have also just not been in the great headspace to like read more mandatory, I guess. So I'm unsure about this one. Oh, my next goal is just to continue being me. I think I did that. I think it's hard because I do chase the algorithm a little bit, but it's because I like that. And so I think you see me in me chasing the algorithm because it's fun for me. And that's like a passion of mine. And I think I learned that a little bit because a lot of times I'm like, I don't want to chase the algorithm, but that's not fun for me because like I think it's fun to like learn what does good. Like I had a whole conversation with you guys earlier. Like I do enjoy this, but I do think I've been me. I think I've been me more than ever. I think I've opened up so much this year about so much stuff in my life and struggles and good things and bad things. And I've been sharing more hobbies and passions. Gaming has been such a big thing that I'm sharing. I think I've stayed true to myself and true to what I'm proud of and true to all of that. And I'm proud of myself for that. And my last thing was to grow my Patreon. I think there are new people who stand out, and that's why I think this goal is a success. There are people this year that have joined, that have stuck around, that I've like been just like sucked into this great community that I've created and that we have, and I hope they stay forever now. And that's like the whole goal, is the community aspect. But my Patreon has been pretty stagnant at a number. People leave, people come in, people leave, people come in, and it's pretty like steady. So I don't think I've grown it past that number, but I think the idea of this goal is to grow the community aspect, and I think I've done that because I think the people who have come in, there have been a decent amount of them who will stick around for a very, very long time, for however long that they feel comfortable sticking around and giving me a monetary piece, because I think that that is a lot in this economy, and I'm not entitled to it in any way. And so I'm very thankful for anyone who chooses to do that and never feel any pressure to do that. So like no one has to stick around forever, but obviously I love when they just like come into my life and then they're stuck in my life forever. There are people who have left my Patreon that I still have connections with for sure, even though they no longer give me that monetary value. My Patreon has never been just about money. It does have something to do with money. It is how I make most of my money on YouTube. Growing it would be great for my bills and my life, but like the reason that I love it has never been the money. So don't ever feel pressure. Please never feel pressure. But I do think I should do better at growing this. I should talk more about it. I don't really feel like I talk about it that often. I should probably talk more about like the fun things we do, the readathons we do. I don't know. It's like a giant group chat, really. I love the Discord. It's just a big giant group chat with a bunch of people with like similar hobbies and different hobbies. We talk about gaming, we talk about cooking, we talk about gardening, we talk about books, we talk about random stuff. I don't know. Yeah. So those were all my goals for the year. I think I did good. I think there's some that I'm definitely slacking on. There's some that I don't really care about hitting. I'm pretty proud of the year I've had, even though it's been a mess of a year. It probably, in a lot of ways, my favorite year, but also my least favorite year, but I'm proud of it. So here was a little reflection on it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed the little yap session we had. If you want to continue yapping with me, I'm going to leave some other videos on the screen for you to check out. If you made it all the way to the end of the video and you'd like to leave me an emoji just to say you here, leave me a heart emoji, and have yourselves an absolutely remarkable day.